Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me live. Or if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching the replay. If you are live and you have any questions that you'd like me to answer during this session, please drop those in the comment section. Awesome. Okay. So I'll give you kind of some background information on reviving your knees, and then I'll also save plenty of time for your questions. I had a question or two that came in ahead of time. I am just figuring out a couple of things with the live stream right now, so I'm trying to see. I see myself and I don't see the comments right now. So I'm just double checking how I can do that and not miss your questions. Okay, well, I'll get started and then I'll see if I'm not seeing the comments in this current screen. So, but bear with me. I'll circle back to that. I'm happy you're joining me, and I just want to kind of give you a little background information, and then a couple of concrete things that you can start doing today to help your knees. So, just to kind of give you some of the background information that I, kind of caused me to kind of go down this path of how do I help as many people with their knees as possible. I was seeing a lot of people in the clinic who were told when their knees were hurting that they needed stronger muscles, and that if they just had strong enough muscles in their legs or in their, their core, their hips, or wherever, if they had stronger muscles around their knees, that their knees would feel better, that those stronger muscles would take pressure off of their knees. And indeed, there is a lot of science that demonstrates that people with knee pain have weaker muscles, right? It's not as clear whether the weak muscles came first or the weak muscles came following the knee pain and inability to be as active and to do the exercises that were keeping their muscles strong. So that the conventional way of addressing knee pain related to arthritis or related to chondromalacia, which is a softening of the cartilage in the knees, and oftentimes a precursor to arthritis, or happens at the same time as arthritis. So all of that. I do see the comments, by the way, so I was just distracted if you're wondering, and I see one, and I'll be able to answer that in a moment. So all of that to say, strong muscles are important. Strong muscles are critical to leading a vibrant life. You can't get by with just taking care, getting rid of your knee pain if you don't have the strength to move and participate in all the activities that you want to participate in. But it's only one side of the two-sided coin, which is strengthening your knees. So one side of the coin is the muscles. And when a muscle is worked, whether it's, you squat down to pick something up off the ground, or you're going on a hike, or, fill in the blank and whatever you enjoy doing. If you're using your muscles, those muscles pull on tendons. Tendons tie the muscles to the bone. So when the muscle works, it pulls on tendons and it pulls on your bone. It also, like the muscles on the front of your thighs, the muscles in the back of your thighs, so your quadriceps and your hamstrings, all of those are going to pull on tendons, they're going to pull on bones, and they cross over your knees. And so they move. They of course, they're moving your knees, but they're also pulling the bones together. So everything that your muscle pulls on, bone, tendon, or in between the bones, when the bones are moving or getting pulled together by the muscles, that all gets either squished or pulled. And if it's not strong enough, then it complains. It has a different way of complaining. Sometimes there's delayed pain. So if you're someone that's noticed, you can do something on a Monday and you feel fine, and on Tuesday morning you wake up and you're like, oh, my knee's a little achy. That's typically not the muscle complaining. It may be something else, maybe the cartilage that's indirectly complaining because it doesn't have nerve supply. So the second side of the triangle, the second side of the coin for strengthening your knees is making sure, inside your knees and then the tendons and so forth, these structures that don't get as much blood supply as muscles get, that all of that is getting more resilient, and we're improving that so that you can use your muscles as strong as you need to, or as you'd like. All right, so let's jump right to a couple of things that you can do for your knees. So inside your knees, we all have fluid, and that fluid is meant to be kind of a lubricant, just like oil in the engine of a car, keeps everything moving really smoothly. Good fluid inside your knees is going to keep the knee moving smoothly. It's also going to provide some shock absorption. So healthy joint fluid is the thickness of egg whites. I'm going to take a drink of water. If you have any swelling in your knee, that quality of fluid diminishes, and it is similar. It's more similar to kind of a watery fluid. So we want the thicker fluid, and one way to achieve thicker fluid is by engaging the thigh muscles in a way that does not put too much pressure inside the knee. So we talked about just talked about that if you work a muscle really hard, right? Maybe that's the muscle in the front of your thigh. If you work it really hard, it can kind of squish things inside your knee. And if your knee isn't ready for that, then it's going to complain. If not right then, maybe hours later the next day. So I recommend having at least one towel roll. This is like a small hand towel. You can use larger bath towels. It's usually, for most people, is more comfortable if they're using some sort of support underneath of their knees. And I recommend that most people start by sitting with their legs supported. That could be in bed, that could be on a couch with the towel roll, or if you don't have a towel roll, maybe you have a sweatshirt and you can just, or a fluffy sweater, and you can just roll that up and put it underneath your knees. So you're welcome to do this along with me if you'd like, or just kind of learn about it and save it for a little later today and try it then. But your knees need to be comfortable. So again, most people like a little bit of support underneath their knees. Some people think, well, I'll get to that, but some people use, a second towel roll. So they make this towel roll a little bit larger because it makes their knees more comfortable. You want your knees to feel good during this and immediately afterwards. So you can lie down flat if it bothers your hips or your back. If you feel like, oh, just this position kind of makes anything uncomfortable, you can lay back on pillows, or you can lay down flat. I have some people that keep a towel roll on their nightstand, and first thing in the morning, they pull it off the nightstand and they pop it under their knees before they even get out of bed in the morning. Because some people will notice a pretty significant, temporary, but a pretty significant decrease in stiffness. So while you're in this position, you're going to tighten your core. And the way I recommend, if you know how to tighten your core, just do that. If you need a little tutorial on that, if you have a candle at arm's length and you had to blow it out, So you forcefully exhale. It's, you'll feel some tension, some work happening in your midsection, and that's what you want to maintain. With that maintained, then you'll squeeze your glutes together, squeeze your rear end together. So now you have your core tight and your hips or your glutes engaged and tight. And that's when you turn on your thigh muscles. And that's going to press the back of your knees down into the towel roll. But notice, like, I'm not trying to kick my leg up or anything. So this is meant to be very, very gentle and work for almost everyone. So core tight, glutes engaged, then tighten the muscles in the front of your thighs, and you're going to hold that for a full 5 seconds. So oftentimes when I count it out, I'm going to relax again. So tighten the core, tighten the glutes, and then tighten the thighs and hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a little faster than a second a piece, but by the time you tighten and say hold and then the countdown, it's roughly 5 seconds. So some people hold it 10 seconds a piece. I would recommend doing this 5 or 10 times in a row. See how you feel. If that feels good, you could increase it to 10 to, you can move up to 20 times in a row. And doing this periodically throughout the day is going to kind of give you little bursts of what I like to call joint love, kind of give your knees a little increase in the viscosity or the kind of the gelatinousness of the fluid inside your knees. And it's not going to be permanent. You like with any exercise, whether it's, a bicep curl, you don't do one set of bicep curls and think, okay, now my biceps are strong and healthy. This too needs to be repeated. And because it's not a muscle, you don't have to do it on, only 2 or 3 days a week. You don't have to do it, have a day of rest in between. This can be done every single day. And again, ideally multiple times a day. So start with what feels doable. You don't want to feel overwhelmed by the task. So if it's just like, I'm going to do this right before bed every night or right when I get up every morning, great. Start with 10 reps in that case. So these are known as quad sets. Again, if there's any discomfort, you'll want to lighten how much you're tightening. So this isn't meant to strengthen your quad muscle. And sometimes people are get some tension or soreness or achiness in their knees if they're tightening with a lot of force. Lighten up on the force. So if 100% was like, okay, I'm tightening this muscle as hard as I can, and 0% is completely relaxed, think about a 30 to 40% tightening intensity. If you have another towel roll around, sometimes wrapping one around the other to get kind of a larger diameter of your towel roll. Sometimes a slightly different angle will feel better for your knees. So just make sure that it's comfortable. All right. Let's see, another drink of water for me, and then I'm going to share with you how to move that fluid around to lubricate. Now, I'm sitting on a massage table. You're probably, I would imagine most of you don't have a massage table at home. So you're going to be a couch or a bed or something like that. But if you are with your feet, dangling, whether it's on, the back of a pickup truck, I'm just trying to think of where you might be. If you're out and about and you're one of those, if you're outside and there's a picnic table and you're sitting on the edge of a picnic table, you can let your lower legs dangle and lightly, let them kind of kick back and forth. And that provides some good motion inside your knees. I think of this as like a little massage inside your knees that just kind of, spreads out that healthy fluid, and it can decrease soreness and achiness. Again, this can be done multiple times during the day to kind of give your knees a little bit of healthy motion, which interrupts, sustained positions, whether that's standing in one place or sitting in one place for a long period of time. Now, more likely, you'll be someplace where you can sit and use a furniture mover. This is a furniture mover that is meant for like a carpet. It's a plastic-backed furniture mover. There's also furniture movers that are, that are a felted background. The floor in here is not carpeted, so I need this type of felted furniture mover, furniture slider. And I put this piece of felt on top only because it tends to blend in when I'm on video. It tends to blend in with the floor surface. I want you to be able to see it. So let me slide my chair over. And just change my camera angle. Okay. So while you're sitting, you would put the furniture mover under your foot. And depending on how sensitive your knees are, you may want to engage your core. Again, think of the candle, extinguishing the candle at arm's length, keeping that tension, then tightening your glutes or your hip muscles together, so core and glutes. And while those are engaged, lightly sliding your foot in and out. Now I want you to notice a couple of things. One is I'm not trying to get my knee as straight, reach out my foot as far as I can to get my knee all the way straight. I'm also not bending my knee, all the way under the chair as far as I can. You don't need to go to get the benefit of this exercise. You don't need to go to the end ranges. So core tight, glutes engaged. That just kind of gives you a good foundation for your thigh, and you're going to slide your foot in a range of motion that's comfortable for your knee. It also isn't, while it's an exercise, for your knee, inside your knee, it's not meant to make you, breathe harder, increase your heart rate, significantly, and so on. So you don't need to go fast, you're not polishing the floor. And actually, sometimes people find themselves going faster, and if they slow down a little bit, it actually feels better for their knee, and that's what we're after. Something feeling as good as possible for your knee. I think of rocking chair speed. So I think that's a good visual to kind of come back to. Is like, okay, if I'm sitting in a rocking chair, there's a constant rhythm of movement, but I'm not trying to make it vigorous. That makes me think of, I remember as a very small child, having my own rocking chair that was like child size, and I flipped it over. So, some people, I guess, are more vigorous with the rocking chairs, but for this purpose, think of, sitting on the front porch, rocking chair style type of movement, nice and easy, and that spreads out your joint fluid. It's meant to feel good during and afterwards. How much time do you do this? Well, it needs to feel good, so let that be your guide. If 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes feels good, you could be typing at a computer or on the phone or texting or reading a book, listening to a podcast, and go 5 minutes or more. Just, I would introduce it gradually if your knee is really easily irritated, like it gets very easily painful. It's easier to build up than it is to do it too long, and then later your knee complains. But for most people, if it's comfortable during and you do it 3 to 5 minutes, you're probably going to be fine. And this too can be done, right after or right before, but in conjunction with the quad sets, the thickening of your joint fluid. I have people put furniture movers in checked luggage when they fly, and as long as they don't put anything underneath the seat in front of them, they can do this on a plane. So it has quite a bit of versatility. A rocking chair, since I talked about that, rocking chair is another way. With your feet on the floor, if you're in a rocking chair, your knees are going to be bending and moving a little bit, and that's another great way to get some motion in. Likewise, you can walk in a pool to get motion. Walking on land gives your knee some motion, but there is, a shock absorption that your knee has to take that you don't have in water when you're waist high or chest high in water. So if walking is ever painful for your knees, then I wouldn't call that your gentle motion. And trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to tell you about that. But think working up to 20 to 30 minutes a day and kind of figuring out how to weave it into your day so it's happening almost automatically. Like this isn't something you set aside, you have to set aside a lot of time for. So maybe you have a furniture mover by the couch that you sit on in the evening to, wind down and watch something on TV. Maybe you have one at your workstation or wherever you check email, your computer. So having different furniture movers at different places so that, you can get a few minutes here and a few minutes there, and it's not a difficult commitment. All right. So I can see the comments. I know I had a question earlier of whether I was able to. If you're here live and you want to share where you're joining from, I'd love to hear about that. I do see a question: can cartilage fissures recover, and how long does it take? So cartilage fissures can show up on imaging if when you go to a physician and they order imaging to look inside your knees, and it indicates that cartilage isn't as healthy as it once was. And cartilage is on a continuum in terms of strong versus weak. So cartilage cells bind water molecules, and in that binding of water molecules, the cartilage is firm. When the cartilage doesn't hold on to those water molecules as easily, the cartilage becomes softer, and then damage can start to occur. So a fissure would be one example. Chondromalacia just means a softening of cartilage. That's a weakening of cartilage, and less, over time, less cartilage can be seen on an X-ray if that weak cartilage isn't addressed and activities just gradually kind of wear it down. But a firm cartilage withstands the forces throughout your day and just with exercises and other activities. So we want to improve the strength of that cartilage, or the ability of the cartilage to withstand those forces. Cartilage changes very slowly. This is not something that you can do. These a gentle motion and an isometric exercise for your thigh muscles, the quad sets, or maybe the sitting sliders that I demonstrated, for a couple of days or even a week or two, and think, oh, I'm good to go. Like my cartilage is fine again. It takes a few more steps, and I'll be talking about that more tomorrow and Thursday. I oftentimes tell people, think, making a commitment for several weeks before you're kind of assessing, are things changing? So when someone says, okay, I have a cartilage fissure, how long is that going to take? Some of it depends on how their how their knee, like, does that cartilage fissure prevent them from going up and down stairs because their knees hurt too much? Or does it prevent them, are they able to sit down on a chair and stand back up without using their hands and not have knee pain? Those are kind of things that I help people tease out to figure out what, what level they're starting at, and then they're going to build from there. So the best advice I can say is, can cartilage fissures recover? Your cartilage can get stronger, and that process usually takes a number of months. I won't be able to answer it probably more specifically than that. The other piece to, and this is kind of a hard kind of to figure out, well, how is that possible? But sometimes you can have cartilage fissures and not have pain or stiffness or problems and not be limited by your knees. And so the way I explain that is, if your cartilage is weaker, then it can get damaged, and that damage can show up on an X-ray or on an MRI. But the cartilage that you have that looks damaged, on the X-ray or the MRI, can get stronger and healthier. On a cellular level, that those, the binding water, its ability to bind water and not get further damaged or deteriorate further, that may happen. But given the right exercises, the right kind of decision making for your knees, and increasing those over time, and the X-ray or the MRI may not change dramatically. So there's not a lot of research on this, and there's not, like, my clients don't, for example, don't necessarily get another X-ray or another MRI if their knees are feeling really good. So it's hard to say, but I have had people get X-rays of their knees and get really worried because there's all this quote unquote damage in their knees, and they're not having knee pain, So, and sometimes that happens because, why would they get an X-ray if they're not, so it may be an injury in their thigh and that type of thing, that it shows up. So I can talk more about that if there's more questions. So please feel free to drop an additional question in the comment. All right. Do you need to use a furniture mover? Can you just move your foot back and forth? Great question. You want as little friction under your foot as possible. So the furniture mover is one way to do that. I have had, people use a furniture mover on, like the one that I have, but on a surface, and maybe it's tile, but it's not really smooth. And so it doesn't, there is friction, and that requires your muscles to work more, which may put too much pressure on your knee, or may make your muscles tired before you get in enough volume of the motion. So you don't have to have a furniture mover per se. Sometimes people use like a dust cloth or a slippery sock if they're using, a hard surface like I was. But it needs to be something underneath your foot, so that the friction, that it's like as easy as possible to move your foot, that you're not like really working to straighten your knee or to bend your knee. Kind of like that rocking chair. You don't have to think about it after a while. It's just kind of almost moving itself. So hope that helps answer that question. Again, please drop additional questions if you need additional clarification. All right, excellent. A question that I received before this session via email is it possible that my knees are beyond rehabilitation? And so I guess the shortest answer to that is Yes, it's possible to kind of damage beyond repair. That being said, I've had a number of clients with bone on bone knee arthritis, who make, you know, who make their knees feel a lot better, and some of whom make their knees feel great enough for them to kind of resume activities that they had been previously avoiding. So what I look for in terms of whether or not this approach might work for you or work for your knees, what I look for is, do your knee symptoms, whether that's stiffness, whether that's like a swelling or a fullness in your knees, um, whether that's like an achiness, whatever, however you would describe the discomfort that your knees have, if that fluctuates, that's a helpful indicator. And let me explain kind of in two different ways. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you're stiff, your knees are kind of stiff. You move around. By the time you get up, go to the bathroom, make coffee or whatever, take a shower, so on, your knees are starting to feel better. That's a fluctuation in your symptoms. Or maybe at the end of the day, your knees always kind of ache a little bit more. Let's say you avoid things like stairs or squatting or playing golf or pickleball or going for steep hikes. And when you do that, your knees feel better, and it's kind of a relief, and you're happy about that, but you start to go back to those activities again. And when you go back to those activities, then your knees start to feel worse again. That's an indicator that this approach can help you. It means that different amounts of pressure on your knees, less pressure is okay, and more pressure is not. And so that means that by strengthening inside your knees and by strengthening more than just the muscles in your legs, you will be able to tolerate, or you'll be able to build up the potential to receive or to produce more load. So more challenging exercises or activities. All right. So my colleague, Dr. Doug Kelsey, and I offer an online program to support people with building stronger, healthier knees. And that program is called Better Knees for Life. There's a private community. It's off of social media that Better Knees for Life members can access. And I offer question and answer sessions twice a month. So the program gives you step-by-step guidelines on what to do for your knees, and when to add a new exercise or when to make an exercise harder. Those are all kind of outlined in the program. And then if you have some questions about, well, how do I make this work for me? I've got this situation going on, or whatever the case may be. That's a great time to kind of ask a question, either during the question and answer session. You can attend those live, or you can submit the question in the private community and I'll answer it live, and then you can watch the replay. So that kind of gives you additional support as you're following through with the kind of step-by-step guidelines that Better Knees for Life gives you. It is meant for people that have mild to moderate knee pain. So their knee pain's annoying, but it's not super severe. If it's super severe, you probably want to go to my website and consider online coaching sessions, which are one-on-one, and I can kind of help you. I can help you better if you've gotten to the point of really severe knee pain. But if it's annoying and you just don't want it to kind of keep getting worse, and in addition you want it to actually get better, then Better Knees for Life may be a really good fit for you. And the link to learn more about Better Knees for Life is in the description of this video. So you're welcome to kind of click on that and check out more about that. Better Knees for Life is not meant to require a lot of equipment. So people can do this at home. They can do this when they're traveling. you need a standard, pointing to the wrong side. You need a standard chair. You need a towel roll. You'll need like the stopwatch on your phone, to kind of keep track of time. A furniture mover or something else similar to that would decrease the friction under your foot during gentle motion. A flexible tape measure. So this is out of sewing kit. A flexible tape measure is another thing to kind of get some data in the beginning to kind of measure where your knees are at. And then a type of tubing called a gray cook band. I have a few hanging back here. The gray cook band is about 5 feet of tubing, but it has webbed loops in different places, and these can be used to secure it at home in a door. So you don't have to have a setup like that. The gray cook band can be, secured like that in a door, and as long as the door doesn't open, it's a safe way to secure it. I'll talk more about uses for the gray cook band and other exercises and Better Knees for Life tomorrow. I'll be live again tomorrow. It'll be 5 hours later than it was today. So whatever time zone you're in, just 5 hours later. And I'll alter out I don't think it's there yet, but I'll put the link for tomorrow's live YouTube session. I'll put that in the description below as well. So, all right, I think we got to all the questions that came up this morning. If you have questions that you'd like me to answer tomorrow and you're watching this later today, drop those in the comments, and I'll be able to see those and discuss them tomorrow. Hope you all have a great day, and keep strengthening your knees.